Hi, good morning everybody. I'm Alessandro. It's a pleasure to be here in Muscat to introduce you to the Isolario project. I'm a researcher at the Institute of Informatics and Telematics of the Italian National Research Council in Pisa. And since 2009, me and my research colleagues are working on the Internet Autonomous System level of abstraction, trying to discover some of its hidden characteristics, like, for example, inter-autonomous system economic relationships or geographic information, with the final aim to identify Internet topological properties and drawbacks in order to fix them and offer a solution. As a Hurricane Electric guy, I don't remember the name, Anurag? Yeah, sorry. As Anurag pointed out before, and as other people around the world are doing, we use for our researches the data collected by BGP route collectors. This data is collected by Unix machines, typically Quagga, running Quagga or Bird, a routing suite, and establishing BGP session with volunteer autonomous systems. Route collectors will only receive the data from a volunteer autonomous system, will not reply with any route, and will not use the routing information they received for any purpose, other than collecting them and make them publicly available online. That's where we take the data from, and we are particularly interested, for example, in the autonomous system path attribute, where we can understand the inter-autonomous system connections. These are the most important route collecting projects, and there are, of course, route use and RIS that are collecting since the late 90s data in MRT format, and Packet Clearing House that is sharing their data since 2011 in MRT format as well. However, as Anurag pointed out before, it is not at all a bed of roses. Data is known to be largely incomplete, and the problem is that the biggest problem is that the number of feeders, the number of autonomous systems sharing their full routing information with any of the route collecting projects is very low. Last time I checked, it was about 250 out of 60,000 autonomous systems in the internet. In one of our last work, we tried to understand how much incomplete these data are, and we devised an optimized describe you, of course, but I can give you all the details in private later, in which we exploited the inter-autonomous system economic relationship to understand the amount of information that we can have. These are the results. As you can see, they are very poor. So we are able to discover the full connectivity of only about 10 or 12% of all the autonomous systems which are transiting traffic for other autonomous systems. Or in other words, those autonomous systems which we see in the middle of an autonomous system path. The situation is even worse in the MENOG region, and I hope this can be solved after my presentation. What we in Pisa, we believed that one of the main problems was that maybe autonomous systems administrators may not see any direct outcome in sharing the routing information, and they need to be a little bit pushed to join. So we created the Isolario project. The Isolario project is an enhanced route collector, which is based on the DODES approach, which means give to be given. We offer to every autonomous system which decides to participate a free set of real-time services based on the aggregation of the routing information we collect. But we require on the other side a full routing table and its evolution over time. As every other route collector, we are sharing our RIB feed snapshot every 2 hours and update collection every 5 minutes, as well as some periodic analysis you can find on our website. Plus, we are sharing also some open source software we developed during the development of Isolario, like, for example, the interactive collecting engine, which is the routing suite we are using in Isolario, with the multi-threaded routing suite we are using in Isolario, and the MRT data reader, which allows you to read the data we make publicly available. Here you are the system. So, as I told you, the collector is only a small part of it. Data incoming from our feeders, which are the autonomous system joining Isolario, arrives to the route collector, are parsed, shared with the public, and then analyzed by some of our service modules, and then sent to the core intelligence. In the core intelligence, the data are parsed, merged, and some statistics are computed, and are sent to the web server, which will handle the communication with the feeder administrators, which can access the results of the data in real time thanks to one of the most common browsers available, thanks to WebSockets. This is a focus on the root collateral we have, which is the most important part of the system. So data arrives in the dispatcher. The dispatcher split duplicate the packets, the incoming packets, and send one copy of the packet to the route collecting suite, which is ICE, and which handle the BGP session and a copy of these packets to each of the services which requires these packets, basing on a set of filters we apply on the dispatcher and on the needs of the system. So, as I told you, every feeder has a free access to a set of services, and these are the services we built up so far. The services are free of charge, of course, and will remain free since we are a research institute and will remain a research institute. And I'm going to tell you something about the services, the real-time services and the diagnostic services. The historic services are already on work in progress, so I won't tell you anything about that. Please feel free to log in Isolario and our website and log in with a guest credential to follow me during my presentation of the services. So let's start from real-time services. All those services which are built on top of the incoming BGP session. The routing table viewer is the first service we created, and you can access it from the icon you can see on the top left of the slide. And allows you to have a view of, in real time, of the routes that your feeder is announcing to Isolario, the best routes that your feeder is announcing to Isolario to reach a portion of IP space of your interest. We can do that, we found that interesting because it allows you to not log on your router remotely or install any additional third-party software on top of your router, but it just requires to log in Isolario and you have the results you need. All the results are in real time, so if anything happens during the time of analysis, you're going to see the changes on your browser. The second application we created is subnet reachability, which is the most important in my opinion. It is the most important since it exploits the full potentiality of Isolario, giving you all the perspective the Isolario feeders have about a portion of the IP space. So, for example, you can be interested in understanding how your subnet is reached from every other perspective of the internet in real time, and if there are any problems, all the portion of the routing tables of Isolario feeders. Of course, the more the feeders, the more the service is useful. One of the most problematic parts that we found during the development of this service was the visualization problem. We had, right now we have 30, 40 full feeders sending us the routing information. So it's pretty tricky to understand what's going on from 30, 40 portion of tables. Thanks to Massimo Candela of IPNCC, we managed to solve partially this problem, inserting in Isolario in this peculiar application the BGPlay real-time version, which you can find at this website, bgplaymassimocandela.com. So then we pass to the diagnostic services, which are all those services where we try to spot some anomalies in the interdomain routing. The first one is, of course, the alerting system. We created an alerting system which is totally customizable by the network operator, where you can, for example, create your own trigger based on the BGP attributes or a peculiar pattern in the BGP attributes, like, for example, the autonomous system path. You can also set up an alert, a trigger for your prefix reachability or for flap events. We also have an hijack detector, a basic hijack detector, which will tell you whether any of the Isolario feeders are seeing your subnets as announced by another autonomous system. We are trying right now to develop a new version of the hijack detector in order to handle larger scale events, for example. Then we have the daily report. The daily report is a document, a couple of documents we create every night. The the day before. Not only our data, but also the data coming from route views, RIS, and packet cleaning house. We propose a new routing table routing analysis tool as an incentive to push you network administrator in sharing your data, and then allow us to pursue our researches. Plus, most analysis tools that I'm aware of either use BGP data publicly available, like RIS or route views, or do not publish the data they collect with their private BGP infrastructure. Then, what's the need of yet another route collector? Well, the main problem is that when we started in 2013, we required to change the infrastructure of the classic route collateral, as I showed you before. So we decided to create a new route collecting project to not to compete with others, but to fill something that we thought was like a gap. Hoping that our paradigm, the DODES paradigm, may be successful and may push your network administrator in sharing your routing information. That's it. I thank you for your attention, and I hope many of you will decide to participate to the Isolario. If you decide to participate, please send me a mail at info@isolario.it or stop me offline without any problem. Is there any question?
Questions? Okay, until we get somebody going to the mic. So what do I actually need as an operator to join? What do I need to, other than mailing you? What do I have to have in place?
You just have to set up a BGP session, a multi-hop BGP session towards our route collectors and enjoy our services. That's it. Okay. We just require a full routing table. So our services will be useful. Otherwise, you're going to see just a little bit of information. It's not really needed for you.
And one of the things that I've heard some of the network operators complain about, because they're not necessarily all skillful in programming and Python and stuff like that. Do they need to be skillful Python?
No, they just have to be creative. So if they have any requirements, they can ask us, and we are more than happy then to create a proper module to deploy in Isolario. As a research project, we are open to any kind of collaboration in this sense, for example.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much. This has been very informative, and the work that you're doing is great.
Thank you very much.